On today's episode of the Locked On NHL podcast, hey, remember when I said that the Blues had no chance of catching the Wild?
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Locked On Wild, your daily Minnesota Wild podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team each and every day. We thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen each and every day. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. Today's episode of Locked On NHL is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. On today's episode of Locked On NHL, we'll take a look at the wild card races here as we've got a tight battle for the third spot in the Atlantic. It could end up that the Ottawa Senators pass the Florida Panthers. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Wild and the Blues, something that I laughed off the last time we talked about it, and it has come to pass. So we'll discuss why the St. Louis Blues just refuse to lose. And we'll take a look at a few players nearing a return and which will make the biggest impact for their team once they return. My name is Seth Topal, host of Locked On Wild, joined by JD Young of Locked On Sharks. And we'll save the A topic for the middle segment so that I can allow myself a little time to get the coals ready. Let's talk about the race in the East. The Atlantic top three and the Ottawa Senators has all of a sudden become a close battle here. With 5 games remaining, the Ottawa Senators are just 2 points back. The Panthers have lost 5 in a row. The Senators have won 3 in a row. And not only that, but I think we're getting pretty close to having both wild cards in the East wrapped up because Montreal has won 5 in a row themselves. So it's tightening up. How panicked are you? Now, the Florida Panthers have clinched a playoff spot, so that's not an issue. But it is getting to the point that this is a little bit of a sweat. How concerned are you if you're the Panthers about this lead over these surging Senators suddenly becoming just a single game?
Yeah, I mean, if you take it from the Panthers' perspective, it seems like they don't really care because like they've called up some of their AHL guys here to maybe try to give some of their vets rest going into kind of this final stretch here. Like you're not going to have Tkachuk until at least the beginning of playoffs, right? You're not going to have Ekblad until the third game, I believe, in the playoffs here. I think they've maybe accepted their fate of like, even though they are only 2 points. It's crazy. Like they're 2 points from catching the Lightning, and yet they're also 2 points from being caught by the Sens. So this is like a very interesting situation on how they play this, right? Because if they go all out and they try to win games here, now it's not like that they're not trying to win games. They get the 2 spot, right? And then you're hosting the Lightning. But do you think they kind of would rather play the Leafs? Maybe, but then you're denying us great theater in Sens Leafs first round, which would just go ahead and book that for 7 games. Like that thing is going 7 games no matter. I'm very curious to see how I'm not panicking if I'm the Panthers because 1, you are the defending champions. 2, you have reinforcements coming along the way, and right now you're just trying to make sure everyone is ready to go when the playoffs start. So I don't doubt that, but it's interesting to see how they potentially try to navigate this situation.
This is going to be fascinating because we will see if a lull right before the regular season ends hurts the Panthers at all. Now, they've got Paul Maurice, who has navigated no shortage of adversity as head coach. I mean, let's think back to a couple of years ago when they were in last place basically at the midway point of the season, and they fought all the way to a wild card spot, and the rest was history up until the Stanley Cup final. I think this Panthers team views health as more important than spot in the standings. They play a style that is very conducive. I know their road record isn't great, but they play a style that is pretty conducive to winning on the road. They're a physical team.
Yes.
They play tough. They play heavy. They can go in and they can neutralize the top skill players for an opponent.
Yes.
They can't do that, though, if key pieces
players aren't there. Yes.
If key players are not at 100%. So I think at this point, the Panthers, they've done it as an 8 seed. They've done it as a much higher seed than that. I think to them it's semantics. I think it's a seed. It's a number. It doesn't matter if they play the Lightning or they play the Maple Leafs. They're going to have to shut down some pretty good offenses in both cases. And the only way that they're going to be able to effectively do that is if they get those pieces back, which means that you're probably going to be holding them out until the absolute last game of the season, if not longer, just to make sure that they are 100% good to go. And there's going to be a little bit of a rust factor. So would it surprise me if they lose game 1, game 2 of a series before making a comeback to make it close? No, it wouldn't. But ultimately, health is the big prize for them. They know what it takes to win in the Stanley Cup playoffs. They have gotten to the Cup final the last 2 seasons. So they know
the miles, the extra miles that those games put on, right? You've almost played a half a season between the last 2 playoffs that you're just adding on top of that. So yeah, I think the way the Panthers are kind of navigating this, like health is first and foremost. I want it from the Sens perspective, right? If you're the Sens, and yes, like they're on the verge of clinching their first playoff spot, and since Erik Karlsson was there, right? That's how long. That's 2 teams ago. For your counting at home. If you're the Sens, don't you kind of want to maybe play the Leafs and play the big brother and because we have seen great matchups, regular season matchups, just the intensity of and yes, right, for them, they're on a roll right now and they probably don't care, but as a hockey fan, I think that's what we want to see, right? We want to see the big brother, little brother between the Sens and the Leafs, and we want to see the Battle of Florida as 2 of the best teams in the past, 5 or 6 years between the Panthers and the Lightning go on at it. That's what we want to see in the playoffs, right?
Yeah, that is what we are hoping for in these cases. But I think on the Senators side too, I think if you look at this, do you want to go up against Sergei Bobrovsky or Andrei Vasilevsky? Or Sergei, do you want to go up against Andrei Vasilevsky, or do you want to go up against whoever is in net for the Maple Leafs?
The fact that you don't even know.
I know, I panicked. It's Ilya Samsonov.
It's Wall and who is it now? Now I don't even know.
I got you.
Yeah, it's who's there now still? Who knows? That's the factor, right? You want to take the easier goaltending matchup. So because you feel like if the Sens get in, they're going to have the advantage in net. And we know in the playoffs how much having an advantage in the net means. And if you feel, especially with the Sens style of play, right, where they play that bruising attack first, and we know that the Maple Leafs, we've seen them struggle when they play teams like that. Don't you feel like that's your best, as weird as it's going up against the number 1 seed, don't you feel like that's your best avenue for pulling a potential huge upset and beating the Leafs in the first round?
It is, for the record, Joseph Wall and Anthony Stolarz. So I look like I know what I'm talking about. But further point, you also are going up against the noted futility of the Toronto Maple Leafs in round 1, which every single host on this network other than Locked On Maple Leafs has well documented. I use it from a Minnesota Wild perspective, I use it to try to make me feel less bad about the one that the Wild are currently on. But it is pressure. And for the Senators have the series stealing goalie, like we talked about. They've got the series stealing goalie this year. And if you can go into a road environment, if you can waltz into Toronto and take game one on the road, the noise is going to start. So
if you're, to close this out, if you're the Lightning, you don't really care, right? You feel like you got the dudes, you got the goalie, like bring on whoever you play in round one. We don't care if it's Florida or if it's Ottawa. Like it feels like they're going to be ready to hit the ground running for a team that I think for the Lightning, right? I mean, very kind of over the past year or so, it kind of felt like, okay, like what's this team going to do? And you know what, this team, they don't miss a beat. Right. And I agree with you. I think the Lightning are just like, whoever, doesn't matter. We feel good about our chances here.
Yeah, they are another team that knows what it takes in the postseason. It's more about what they do as opposed to what their opponent does. So they don't really care as much as the other two do. It's going to be interesting to see how that finishes out. We are also tracking a pretty compelling battle in the West that I laughed off a couple of weeks ago. Laughed it off. No chance it's going to happen. The St. Louis Blues are dead and buried, he said. There's no chance they catch the Minnesota Wild, he said.
They haven't lost since then. They still haven't lost.
Who's laughing now? We'll talk about the Western Conference wildcard picture as we continue today's episode of Locked On NHL after this. Today's episode of Locked On NHL is brought to you by Monarch Money. Have you ever checked your bank account and wondered, where'd all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, subscriptions, and entertainment, it is easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. For instance, I found out through Monarch Money that I was paying for a PlayStation Plus account as well as a Nintendo Switch account. See, I haven't used it in enough time that I don't even know what it's called. And thankfully, Monarch Money was able to say, hey, you should do something else with your money than just throw it away. And we got that all ironed out, and it's more money in my pocket at the end of the day. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Welcome back to today's episode of Locked On NHL. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen each and every day. We are your team each and every day as well. And if you're looking for a little more Alex Ovechkin coverage, make sure to stay tuned throughout the week. I'm sure there will be more from Locked On NHL and from Locked On Capitals as we move through the rest of the week. Thought the league did a great job with the ceremony over the weekend. That was great. I love the fact that Wayne Gretzky was there. All good stuff. And it was a lot of fun to see all that happen. But rather than me go through it myself, Dan's got it locked down at Locked On Capitals. And yesterday's episode, I know, went pretty in depth on it. So make sure to check them out. You can always rewatch old episodes of Locked On NHL on all of your favorite podcast platforms. Let's dive into this Western Conference wild card mess.
I can't stop laughing.
I say mess because I literally said on this very show,
I asked you how worried you were.
I'm not worried.
Not worried, this man said. The hubris from this man. Seth, yeah. Let's check the standings right now. Because last time I checked, the Blues had not only caught, but surpassed your Minnesota Wild. 93 points for the Blues, 91 for the Minnesota Wild. It does feel like the West, like it feels actually both feels like the wild cards are all but locked up at this point. I know Calgary still has a chance here, and but like you look even in the East, right? It feels like the Islanders, Rangers, and Blue Jackets. The Blue Jackets, unfortunately, it feels like the wheels have fallen off for them. But in this Blues team, they just don't stop losing. Like, are the Blues ever going to lose again? Let's start with that.
I mean, probably not. Like, I was so quick to dismiss it earlier. I guess I have to keep going with the bit and say, no, they're not going to lose now until this is 2019 all over again. It is impressive, though, for a team that was basically completely written off at that point in the season, because rightfully so, they were dead and buried. They had a negative goal differential. They had 31 wins. They were 31, 28, and 7 before this winning streak started. They were behind Calgary. They were behind Vancouver. They were behind Utah at that point in the standings, and they have vaulted all of them.
Remember when two idiots picked Utah to go to the playoffs this offseason?
Who else did? I sure didn't. Oh, wait, no.
You and I both did on this podcast.
Whoops.
We drank the tea. We drank the defensive tea.
I wanted to believe, but
we all want to believe. I do like, and yes, they have been playing very well. They have found their groove, and they've we talked about it last time where they have taken advantage of a weak schedule, but they have beaten good teams in there as well. They beat Colorado 2-1. Then they beat Colorado 5-4. As we're recording this, they're getting ready to play, or they're playing Winnipeg right now. So if they win that game, then all bets are off. But like, how much damage do you think this team can do in the playoffs, right? Because they're probably going to be facing Vegas the first round. Like, if you're Vegas, is that who you want to see coming in? Is this Blues team? Like, how much damage can this team actually do? Or is this just a nice story, and then once the big boys start to play, like, we'll quickly forget about the Blues?
It's interesting because it's like it feels like you have the one element that you need is a red hot goalie. Like Jordan Binnington, we've seen him do this before. We've seen him go the hothead route. We have seen him go I'm going to stand in my head and I'm going to win you a couple of series.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting. Like if they match up against the Vegas Golden Knights, I mean, I feel like Vegas gets the edge for the lineup, but St. Louis gets the edge for the goalie. And which one has the bigger impact on the series? It would potentially be the goalie. So
yeah, but it's not like we haven't seen Hill sit on his head before too, as well. And you do like with Vegas, because if they start to get some of their pieces back, and we'll see what happened with Tomas Hertl. I know they've been kind of. I think he's back at practice here, but I don't know if he's back in the lineup yet. Or if they're still gonna, just kind of be cautious with Tomas Hertl. But if you're Vegas, like that's the last team I wanted. Like, cool, we won the Pacific, and now we got to face this red hot Blues team who hasn't lost a game in a month. Might be a month and a half by the time these two teams play. Because I mean, looking at the Blues schedule here, like you play Winnipeg, you play Edmonton, like that's two tough games, and you play Seattle and Utah at the end of the season. Like those two teams aren't very good. And even Edmonton right now, like there's no McDavid, and maybe Draisaitl's back, maybe not. Like that's not the scariest thing in the world if you're having to play. Like we could be talking about a team that's hasn't lost in 16 games starting the playoffs here if they can beat Winnipeg tonight.
Yeah, it's it's already it's just going to be really interesting to see with this Blues team, because I just like, are they going to be this Blues team, or are you going to have that revert to form that they did? That, like, what they were earlier in the season is always
Pre-Cam
lurking.
Fowler. Yeah, pre-Cam Fowler.
It's always lurking. It's always just waiting to kind of creep back into frame. So but
at some point, like, they are who they are, and this team is the best, one of the best teams in the NHL right now. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, if you're Vegas, you're very worried, especially for a team that is kind of known for turning on this, turning, like, flipping the switch, like a veteran team like Vegas. You're very worried that this is going to be your first round matchup, where you're going to be facing a red hot Blues team. That would make me a little worried, very much on upset alert if I'm a Vegas fan.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. If I'm Vegas, I'm kind of like, hey, Minnesota Wild, can you pick it up?
Something wild?
Pick it up. And it's possible that the Minnesota Wild do, because there's a certain name that is rumored to be making his return against your beloved San Jose Sharks. We'll talk about that as well as...
Perfect. We have bigger fish to fry, and that bad boy's name is Matthew Schaefer.
As well as a couple of other names who could make an eventual return. So we'll talk about which one may have the biggest impact as we continue today's episode of Locked On NHL after this.
You just realized your business needs to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs. Put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates fast. If you've ever been in a spot where you need to hire like yesterday, the pressure's on, and every day without the right person is a setback. That's exactly when Indeed sponsored jobs come in handy. They make sure your job post is seen by the right candidates right now. Now you can speed up the hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed is all you need.
Final segment of today's episode of Locked On NHL. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen each and every day. Again, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platforms so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. JD, let's talk about a couple of key pieces, Kirill Kaprizov, that are nearing a return, and which name could have the biggest impact on their particular team. The names that we have: Kirill Kaprizov,
Jan Ruda, no.
Connor McDavid, Gabriel Landeskog, and Matthew Tkachuk. I'll start because it's Kirill Kaprizov, hands down. Like, it's not even a question at this point. The Minnesota Wild have since
0 stars without Kirill Kaprizov.
Since Kaprizov got hurt, the Minnesota Wild have averaged right around 2.1 goals per game. The defense over that span has been good enough for them to win games. The goaltending has been good enough for them to win games. They can't score. The number of chances in close that have been missed, that have been fired directly into the goalie's pads, that have just missed the net, it is an astronomically high number, as evident by the fact that I continue to wear hats. There's no hair up top. There's nothing left. It's all gone. It's been maddening. So getting him back, the big question is going to be, at what capacity is he? Is he 60%? Is he 75%? Is he 80%? But getting a goal-scoring threat back into this lineup is the one thing that they have been missing over the course of the last couple of months. And getting that back should help restore major order to this team. So it's Kirill Kaprizov for me. These other players are very important, but Kirill is the Minnesota Wild.
No, that's very fair. That That would be my answer too, is Kirill Kaprizov. Because I do think, again, like the Minnesota, they have some great players. You look at Boldy and Rossi, and the defense, you have some really nice pieces, and you're going to be getting a nice Zeev William here by the end of the week, hopefully. But still, Kirill Kaprizov, he is the Minnesota Wild superstar. And these other teams, right? You mentioned McDavid, at least. They still have Draisaitl. Draisaitl, last time I checked, pretty good at hockey, right? You look at, like the Florida Panthers, Matthew Tkachuk, who I would actually argue is probably the second guy on this list behind Kaprizov, would be Matthew Tkachuk, because, yes, that team, maybe they don't have the superstars like your McDavids or Draisaitl's, but that team is just loaded with talent, right? And Matthew Tkachuk kind of, although he's not the captain, he kind of sets the tone for how this team plays, right? That in-your-face, nasty, aggressive style. And even if he's not scoring, he still does so much other stuff that really helps to drive the team. Landeskog, like, there's going to be a big question of, like, what percentage of Landeskog are you getting? But you still have Nathan McKinnon, who's an absolute monster. And then you still have Cale Makar. So, like, at most, Landeskog's, like, third banana on that team right now. Like, and again, I think whatever you get from Landeskog is just cherry on top for the Colorado team. So, I think it's Kaprizov. Like, if I had to order him, I would go Kaprizov 1. I would go Tkachuk 2, McDavid 3, which, as weird as it sounds, because he's the best player on the planet Earth right now. And then number 4, I would go Landeskog.
If Connor McDavid was a goalie, I would put him number 1.
How good do you think McDavid would be as a goalie? Like what percentage, like what tier is he? Like a 50% tier, like 75% tier? Is he like one of the, like 95 percentile? Because I think, like, if you gave, like, McDavid, like, hey, McDavid, we're gonna switch you to goal. You're gonna spend all summer playing goalie, like getting ready. Where do you think he comes into the NHL next?
Oh, if he has prep time, he's an A. Easy.
He's an A, like a top 10 goalie in the NHL.
I would say. I'll say top 15, but I think if given the requisite amount of prep time, I think he could do it.
Send him home with his homework assignment. Like, here, do this.
You wonder, because he leaves with his backpack and just, like, textbooks. Like, just, good luck.
Good luck. Goalie glove and stuff. You do wonder, because, like, you hear about guys who, like, like defensive core, or, like, for example, the Sharks, they have a rookie named Colin Graff who never ever played on the penalty kill, but has become, like, a really good penalty killer for the Sharks.
Yeah.
And they asked him, like, well, why did you? He's like, I don't know. I just play a lot of power plays, so I see what happens on the power play and I know how to react. Like, do you think McDavid would just be like, I know what everybody's gonna do, like, I just react to it? Maybe that's just like him, McDavid, just being a goaltender. Yeah.
Has Edmonton considered trying it? No,
he could be the new Shohei Ohtani, where games he starts in net, and then games where he's would be like the quote unquote backup, he's just playing forward.
Could you even legally do that? Like, say you had him be in net, and then on the power play you had him play forward.
He's out there with the stick. They're running 6-on-4 with
the goal. The opposing goalie is, like, looking at the players and sees McDavid's number and is like, "Uh-oh, he's out there. He's lurking.
Yeah,
Jaws is here."
Yeah, I mean, I think you're probably. I think I'd rather have McDavid touching the puck as often as possible.
Yeah.
But it'd be a fun thought experiment to see, like, McDavid as a goalie, just to be like, guys, I'm going to do whatever it takes for us to win.
It's a good goalie. It's a good off-season topic. Let's revisit. Let's revisit that in the off-season.
Yeah, which player would be which skater would be the best goalie in the league? Why is it Connor McDavid?
It's Cam Fowler.
Oh, it's Cam Fowler. Well, he's excluded from this conversation.
Yeah,
so
because we already know he'd be the best goalie if he.
I mean, he's clearly leading the best team in the NHL right now. Is never going to lose again. So yeah,
the Cam Fowler effect is real, and I was foolish to dismiss it.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Cam Fowler, as they say, you spit in the sky. You spit in the sky, Seth, and look what happened.
It started raining.
Buddy.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to yet another episode of Locked On NHL. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen each and every day. Again, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. We've got new episodes for you every Monday through Friday as part of the Locked On Podcast Network.